Herrera painted relentlessly for decades, but the work of the 101-year-old was only recently discovered. Now museums are scrambling to show her work, and dealers are desperate to buy her pieces. Herrera will celebrate another birthday at the end of the month, and as Jade Barker found out, she's still committed to her craft.
She's a master of crisp lines and contrasting chromatic planes. Considered a forebearer of many modernist styles from minimalism to geometric and abstraction. But until recently, you'd be forgiven for not having heard of the artist Carmen Herrera.
She only received recognition later in life. Why do you think that is?
Being a Cuban-American woman in the 60s was a complicated position to be in, and I think that it took a long time for people's attitudes towards her and her work to change.
But unlike many artistic greats that have been underestimated and overlooked, Herrera has lived to see her eventual success. The Listen Gallery in New York came across her work almost by accident at an art fair in London around 9 years ago. The company's international director, Alex Logsdale, has got to know her quite well, and he says as she approaches her 102nd birthday, she's still as creatively driven as she's ever been.
All of these paintings in this show were created in the last several years. She's clearly not letting her age slow her down at all, is she?
No, she really is very active, and it's what's kept her very busy and really focused for the last few years, and she's been maybe more productive than she has been in the last 15, 20.
Born in Havana, Cuba in 1915, Herrera came to the US with her late husband Jesse Lowenthal in 1939. About a decade later, they moved to Paris, and it was there that she says she found her artistic voice. After returning to New York in the mid-1950s, her work became more and more minimalist.
She's a hard-edge painter in the classic sense of the word. Her ability to explore space and color with the simplest of forms, and really it's almost always just with two colors, is really what makes her quite unique. And her background in architecture also plays a lot into the work. It makes the work much more makes this two-dimensional work far more object-based than it would appear at first.
She had plenty of encouragement from her husband, friends and fellow artists, but little from galleries and the critics who frequented them. It wasn't until 2004, at the ripe old age of 89, that she sold her first painting. And in her 90s, her work became part of the permanent collections at institutions like the MoMA and the Tate Modern. And last year, she was a subject of a major exhibition at the Whitney Museum in New York.
She was friends with a lot of seminal artists, Leon Pock Smith, Barnett Newman, Mark Rothko, but was never considered in the same way as they were. Some very passionate and very supportive female patrons of the arts started buying her work and giving it to museums. That was a really kind of a seminal change. These people who have massive influence, and they were on multiple museum boards, really gave her work some validity and some interest. And from that, we then started showing her, and then the Whitney show happened, and we did our show, and it all kind of went from there.
Herrera once said, "I've never met a straight line I didn't like." And after more than 7 decades of practicing and honing her craft, the world is finally starting to show the same sort of appreciation for her straight lines as she does.
So how does Herrera herself feel about her work finally getting recognition?
As she says, it's about time.
Jade Barker, TRT World, New York.